All right, everyone. So welcome back to the channel. Um, we've talked about life on furlough. Uh, we talked about food, fueling the body. We talked about moving the body with fitness, and I think there's like a third piece that I want to talk about, and I think it's the most challenging one, and it's right up here, the mental. I had a piece in the last one that I did about how uh, m physical fitness can help with cognitive function. I don't know where the part two was, it just kind of disappeared. I wanted to talk about that, and I want to talk about kind of what goes on with furlough since this is my first experience with furlough. So I just kind of want to be a little real about that and open. And at first, like furlough kind of feels like a vacation, like oh, I'm out for a few days, and you're just chilling. Um, but then like days just kind of start to stack up and they run together, and uncertainty can creep in. Uncertainty can definitely creep in, and certain structure that you had, uh, you know, while you were going to your job. I work for the Air Force as a civilian, and so that can be gone. Um, and your mind can just kind of start to feel like you're battling with yourself a little bit. And look, nobody's perfect, but I think it's important that you have routine, right? I think it's important that whatever routine that you had while you were at work, if it was a healthy one, you need to keep that in pocket while you're on furlough. And it's just a mental, it's a thing. So for me, working for the Air Force, it is a career, and for a lot of people, it's a part of their identity, you know, because a lot of people when they're doing work for the Air Force as a civilian, because from what I understand, contractors are not furloughed, so civilian and military people are still working, but they're just, from what I understand, they're not getting paid. Although I heard that there was a $130 million anonymous gift given to the government so they could pay military workers. I mean, I don't know if that's true or false, but I saw that like in a social media headline. But for a lot of people, when they're civilians, it's a second career. The civilian world was designed to give jobs to retired military or people that detached from the military and they needed some another job. It was designed for military first. They get preferential treatment. So for a lot of civilian workers, a lot of them that's their second career, maybe even their third career. A lot of people are in National Guard, Air Force Reserve, and they're civilians full time. And so a lot of civil service workers are covered because they have second large swaths of, not large swaths, but steady second incomes that uphold them. But then there's another piece of civilian workers that are like me. Like this is the first job I got out of college, and it's the first career I got out of college, and it's the only like lucrative career that I've ever known. I've never gone in industry and worked in anything, so that's a little different. So if you're like me and you haven't like saved, if not me, but if you're in my situation and you haven't saved up some money, it could be kind of rough for you. And hello,
Hello, my speaker Kevin.
this is Tevin.
Hi, this is Renee. I'm calling from Direct Auto Insurance.
Uh huh.
You recently got an auto quote from Direct,
Yeah.
and I was just calling to see if you're still looking for car insurance.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for taking my call.
All right. Bye bye. You have civil service workers who don't have a second big pot to dip in, and so for a lot of us, it's if you've saved up a pot of money, you're good for a certain amount of time. If not, you have to pick up another job, right? So it's just certain things that a lot of civilian workers are dealing with on that side of like uncertainty. Like, what do I do during these times of um, rest? I guess it could feel like stagnation. So I had a choice to make. I could kind of let the furlough happen to me, or I could take control of what I could control. Like just take control of what I could control. So uh, for a lot of people in the military community, they understand that better than most people. Um, so like I never really got out of my routine. The only routine I kind of got out of was like sleeping. Like I go to sleep later, but I wake up later because I have the ability to do that. Like I don't have to get up and find another job at this particular moment in history. That might change, but right now I'm in a situation where I don't have to. And I also have like family members that check up on me all the time. My mother checks up on me all the time. Other family members check up on me all the time. So I have a community of people that check in with me. Church community, men's group community. So I'm not alone. I'm not isolated unless I want to isolate myself, right? And so I would just say if you're in a routine, if you were in a good routine, going to work out, eating a certain way, eating the right way, um, continue to do that. Don't fall off of if you're a furlough worker, don't fall off of the path of taking care of yourself because when you come back to work, you want to be optimal. You want to be able to be in an optimal situation where you're able to take these opportunities to like even me like I've taken this time to, work on my PMP certification. Um, and I've taken time to look over the program that I'm, working on, the workload that I'm working on, and so that way when I get back to work, I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. I was actually given an assignment right as I was put on furlough, a new assignment, so it's been fruitful to me to look and study up on that. And so, um, you know, the routine has like my routine has three pillars. So number one is like learn. So the first one is learn. For me, that's getting to um, like I said, you get into an online course. I'm in a PMP. I'm studying for the PMP certification. I'm looking over the PMBOK. So that's a book that you use as basically like a study guide to study for the PMP certification, project management professional certification, and or you know, uh, you use the time to start a YouTube or pick up new hobbies or learn. There's a Home Depot has um, a certification for trades, and you can HVAC, plumbing, all that stuff. You can look on that, and you can study those courses. And when you get done, they will recognize that, like businesses, trade businesses will recognize that as an official certificate, like you had went to school, like an actual school, and they'll take that into account when if you want to go do an apprenticeship. Because really, what it is with trades is like you got to go to school. Once you go to school, you get your certification, and then you get an internship. So that gives you the ability to go to school without having to pay the money, and you get the certificate. Home Depot's doing that. So things that you've been putting off, you know, put it back on. Whatever projects you put off, put them back on. You want to pick up a side hustle? Do that. Learn how to do that. I'll tell you this right now. It's more beneficial for you to learn how to pick up a side hustle and learn how to build skills for yourself in that way than it would be to go find a side job. Now, of course, if you gotta do what you gotta do, but it's the job market, like at whatever level, is very hard. The job market's weird right now. People they're inconspicuously hiring. They hire who they want to hire. A lot of jobs, from what I've seen, is you have to build relationships with people, and that's how you get hired, from what I see. Um, and then like everybody has, not everybody, I guess, but I don't know, from the way that like media talks and everything, it's like um, college. You know, the media steers everything nowadays. It's not like people will take something the media says and like, oh, that's what's going on. So like businesses are paying attention to what people are saying in media. What are they saying in media? They're saying like college degrees are worthless. Certain college degrees are worthless. Bachelor, everybody they say everybody's got a bachelor's degree and everybody's got a master's degree. So now you need experience. You need experience to go along with the degree, and then a little extra cherry on top, what really is the certifications. Certifications are becoming the new Certifications are becoming a new degree. So if you have a certification certifying that you know how to do this, it gets you in the door to get at least an interview. That's why I'm studying a PMP certification, because certifications are like the new degree. That is a certification, is certifying you that you indeed have put the work in to do this, because I guess college degrees you can uh the market has become so saturated with college degrees that they need something to separate that pile of people. Do you have this on top of this? You have the certification along with this experience. So that's what the job market is doing now. They're not pricing out, but they're putting a stipulation where you have to have uh, extra things on top of your resume to get you even in the door in an interview. So that's why it's important to start figuring out what type of thing you have on your entrepreneur spirit. Like, what do you have to give to the marketplace? I know history, and I know from everybody having a job is very very new. Everybody having a job where somebody pays you for your time, that's relatively new. That was like like the first industrial revolution kind of like started that in the like the 19th century, I think it is, and then it just progressed up there. Before that, people were farmers, having their own businesses where they were shoemakers. You know what I mean? Uh, uh, Carpenters. People were in trades, so trades put you in a situation where you're in business for yourself. So there were a lot more entrepreneurs before the first industrial revolution than there were people who had jobs and just working for companies. So I think the pendulum is swinging now where companies are kind of like doing a reduction in force, and they're narrowing and like trimming the fat, you know what I mean, to make it where there's not so many workers, also because of AI. And then you got people who haven't really developed like skills, and so they just went to school and get a college degree, and they're left on the back and they're left on the outside. They're like, okay, and then now they've got to figure out how to create. Then they went to school for 4 8 years or whatever, and their masters and their bachelors is not as valuable as someone told them it was gonna be. And I'm from that generation, actually. I'm not over here like calling other people out. I'm talking about me myself. So now we've had to find out other ways to cut the mustard. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of times you're gonna put in a lot of hours of apprenticeship. You're gonna put in a lot of hours that either you don't make a lot of money or you don't make any money learning your craft. And then what kind of happens is it's kind of like when you're doing entrepreneurship, you can be in a perpetual state of furlough, right? Like you just haven't been. And then when you reach that point where now you have value in the marketplace, then you get paid. So it's like then you get your back pay, and it's like, dang, okay, well now it's like Now you're getting value in the marketplace. People value what you have to do, and they give you money in exchange for that. So, um, you know, I know I got off topic, but learning a skill, learning a trade, learning how to um, do something that will put you in a position where you can be working for yourself is paramount. Learning skills during this time. If you're on furlough, take advantage of it. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. It's kind of like people that are in furlough are in their own sort of like COVID. When COVID happened, there was a lot of things that popped off for other people because while they was in COVID and the world was shut down, people learned skills. They opened up YouTube channels. They opened up podcasts and stuff like that. And a lot of people made their money off of you know taking that time in solitude and building their skills. So learn something. It's up to you. The number two is this channel is a part of that. Um, like I said, but it could be anything: writing, music, fixing something around the house, creating something, anything that gives you a tangible result and a huge sense of accomplishment. Um, there was something that Nick Saban was saying, and I didn't like watch the video all the way, but he was basically talking about how, and a lot of his players, Nick Saban is a famous coach from Alabama football, University of Alabama, and he said, don't be results driven or outcome driven. Don't always do something looking for the result. That's easier said than done, right? Because we live in a world where you got to get the result because you're looking to get money at the end of it, and um, I think that I agree with Nick Saban. If you focus on the outcome, you'll probably be a little disappointed because you're looking for something quick, a quick turnaround. But if you just build those skills and you look to get just 1% better each day, and then that'll be an accomplishment for you. And then I believe what the Bible says, and it's like your the work that you do is not going to be in vain. You know, the work that you put in is not going to be in vain. The diligent hand that works is going to receive what is due. It's important that you don't give up hope in building a skill for yourself. A lot of people don't even start anything because they are almost sure that it won't work. And as I sit here and I think about the times that I've had this YouTube channel for a while. I have a podcast, Talks Radio, and I've been doing that. I've been doing this since like I've been doing content creating since like 2023. And I haven't gotten the results that I wanted, right? But if I keep working, I will most certainly get results, some that exceed my expectations. But you have to put in work long enough to see that. You can't just quit when nobody's looking or when nobody's not giving you what you want. You got to work it, and that's when you have to realize like you have to find something that you really like doing. You know what I mean? You have to find something that you can enjoy, and say, I'm going to be able to do this, or not even enjoy. You have to find something that you can do consistently, every day. Um, it's I'm kind of torn between that, right? Because it's like when it comes to hobbies and stuff like that, it's like, well, I work out, but do I always necessarily enjoy working out? No, but I love the result, the tangible result that comes from that, and I get a huge sense of accomplishment. Therefore, I keep doing it because it is a huge sense of accomplishment, it's a tangible result, and there's results that come that are good for me. So therefore, I keep working out, I keep eating right, and I'll get some good results along the way. And so we did number one was learn, and then number two was create, and then number three is probably the most important is connect, making a conscious effort to like I said in the beginning, call in the Air Force. They have airmen, your wingmen. Sorry, your wingmen. That's in the Army. They have battle buddies. That's like your community of people that care about you and you care about them, and you check in on them. You check in on your family as well. And we're all going through it in a different way. Um, you don't know how furlough is affecting your fellow wingman or your fellow coworker, but just call and ask them. I've had my supervisor and my senior material lead, the person that runs the whole area where I work, they've called and checked up on me, and not only have they done that, they've sent like resources, let me know like, hey, this is what can help you. I've had members from my church that have. I was in the store, I was in Kroger, getting some groceries, and this member from my church, she was like, hey, here's my number. I didn't have her number, but she was like, hey, if you need anything, just let me know. Just a helping hand, and you should be the person, um, if you're in a position to help, at least extend the hand. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people I know want to make sure that they have it covered on their own before they ask for help. Some people won't even ask for help, but just let people know that um, you're willing to help and stuff like that, and that goes a long way. Just let people know that, hey, I'm checking on you, I'm thinking about you, stuff like that. Stay connected, um, and that fights the feeling of isolation. Like I went to my men's group on Friday, and I was letting them know, like, hey, like I don't know what's wrong with me, but sometimes I have these feelings of wanting to isolate myself and having those feelings of uncertainty. And we all got together and they prayed over me and stuff like that, and that was good. That's a community. It could be different for you, but like stay connected to people during this time. Don't put yourself in a corner somewhere and just seal yourself off, wall yourself off. That's not a good idea. I'm not gonna stand here and act like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm perfect, as I've just shared with you. And so there are still days where like the motivation is low and like the anxiety, it can be high. I try to make sure that like I have an even keel, like manage my expectations. But there's subconscious, things that happen, and stress can show up on the body, and that's okay. It's human. On those days, I just give myself permission to. I try to give myself permission to feel it. I do my best to, and then like, but also not just have feelings, right? Act on them. Like if I'm feeling um unprepared in certain things, make the effort to, like I have a coaching business on the side. So it's like if you feel I felt insecure about certain, well, go out and get more coaching lessons and stack up so that way you don't have to feel that way. You know what I mean? Or like I told you the last episode before, like you go out and survey and see what other part-time gigs you can do as well. And I also know that like I have a son, so I have to manage the time that I'll have with him as well while I'm doing all those things. So, you, it's not supposed to feel easy like life. I feel like nowadays people um, have this feeling sometimes that life. I just feel like people don't understand. Like there is no progress without struggle, and sometimes I have to realize that too. Like I'm like, man, this is difficult. This life thing is difficult. I think it's supposed to be difficult, and then like if you're like me, I'm a believer on the Lord Jesus, so it's like God wants you to call on Him because He's the provider. You know what I mean? Men in the society get we're the providers. We're the providers. Listen, I'm not a provider. God is the provider. Okay? He just bestows resources and abilities on me to where I can extend my hand and be a sort of like person that can facilitate that. Um, but ultimately, like my obedience is to Him, and when I'm obedient to Him and doing my best to call on Him, He'll help me to where I can do what I need to do for my family and stuff like that, and be there and I guess provide. But I don't necessarily see myself. is that all the time, you know. But God kind of like stands me up and makes me be that because I call on Him, and it's okay to ask for help. You know, it's okay to ask for help. And the situation is temporary. The furlough will end at some point, and but the discipline, the skills, and the mental strength that we build right now while we're on furlough is permanent. Like those feelings and those skills and that mental clarity or lack thereof that you build over time, because either you're going to build some mental clarity or there's going to be mental fog. If you work on building the mental clarity in this time when it's hard, um, you'll come out better for that in the end. And then when things like this come up, you'll know how to deal with them better. If you don't work on that, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where whenever hard situations come up, your strength is going to be limited. And the Bible says if you do nothing in a in a difficult time, your strength is going to be limited. So it's important that you learn how to like metaphorically run with horses, right? You say run with horses. That's crazy, right? Like, but that's life. You know, you gotta learn how to fight through and have some grit. Um, and I'm telling you this, and it's easier said than done, but I'm over here trying to like give you an insight on what that looks like, and because I'm dealing with it right now. I'm dealing with fighting through those days where um I might not want to do something, but I have to go do it, you know, in order to prep for the next seasons that come along. Because either you're in a season of wind and gusts, you know what I'm saying, or you're about to go into one, you know what I mean? So either you're in a season of hardship or you're about to go into one. That's what life is. So regardless if you have the money or not, there's hardship. And so to wrap this up, um, managing your mind and motivation during this time, you know, you know, one small win that I've had this week, because that's how I look at it. You know, like you gotta look at life with small wins. What did you get in the small? Because you're not gonna always have like these big gigantic wins. So for me, small wins this week have been I've been able to stay active, working out. I've been able to stay on my meal plan and eat healthy, and I've also been able to um, go out and work and earn money, for my side hustle, and I've learned um, more skills and stuff like that with doing that. Also, this channel as well, like just putting out content here. So I've stayed busy with a purpose, and I've also stayed active, and I've also stayed healthy as well. Next week is gonna be a little different because I'll have my son. So just the time that I have, it it you have to move and maneuver differently and stuff like that. But of course, like the bills and stuff, they don't stop, and so you have to figure out how to deal with that as well. And it's very very weird, and in this time frame, because I started in the government in 2018, and they said that there was the last shutdown was like 2019. It's funny because I don't remember that. I don't remember when that shutdown occurred. I don't even remember it. I don't even remember it. So I don't even know what that I don't even remember what that was. The biggest thing uh, to a shutdown was like COVID, but we were still working just from home and getting paid. And so I don't remember what it felt like to shut down last time. Apparently, I don't remember what that was like. I don't. But I will say that uh, things seem like nowadays they seem like uh, they could be a bit more difficult, like I was talking to like different family members and stuff like that, and I just the way that people view things who are older versus my age, who so like 50s, 60s, 70s and stuff like that, versus like people in their 30s and their 40s and stuff like that. I noticed that a lot of people from older age groups they'd be like, save your money, and that's good. But like a lot of them, I feel like they don't understand like uh things are so expensive now. Like rent wasn't $1,000 plus when they were, younger. Rent was like $400, $500. I even remember when I first got my first apartment, rent was $830, you know. But it kept going up, and now like it's like 1,000 plus, you know what I mean? And so, but then like the wages, they don't change and stuff like that. Now I'm blessed that I have a decent job and it pays pretty good, But right now, like we're on furlough and stuff like that, so that advice of save, save, save was good, you know. Um, because now I'm in a situation where I do have it covered for a certain amount of time, and so that there's an ease with that. But there are some people who don't, There are some people who don't have it, the bills pile up and they're not able to save, Like it's very difficult in this very difficult in in America to save up sometimes, you know what I mean? Because obligations and responsibilities and stuff like that, they pile up. Whether you have kids or not, it's very expensive to live. You could go in the grocery store and pay for a few items and with like two bags and it'd be like 50, $60, you know what I mean? So you have to live frugally. I know I know people that are my age that they've been told by other people, like live within your means, and the people don't understand. Like most of us are living within our means. We're not going out of town. We're not booking flights and stuff like that. We're not. A lot of us are just, you know, paying bills, paying for daycare if you got a kid, a car note if you got one, and rent, and insurance and stuff like that. You can't not have car insurance. That's illegal. And so, most of us are just paying for the necessities, and it's expensive. It's the necessities have gotten expensive, and and the uh, the uh, the creature comforts are inexpensive. You know what I mean? It's actually probably cheaper to pay for, what I'm saying, like an item that you want versus an item that you need. The items that you need are way more expensive than the items that you want. You know what I mean? It can be like that. Rent is more expensive than a phone. You know what I mean? The thing that's kind of plagued this generation. And then a lot of times, we'll look back and I feel like a lot of us feel like we were sold a bill of old goods. A lot of us were told go to college and go to college, get a degree, and you'll get a good job. But that was advice from yesteryear, and so the goalposts moved like right as when we got out of college and we got jobs. Things got really expensive, and like the job that used to pay really well and could like you let's just not even talk about degrees. It used to be my mom said that and I remember it too when I was younger. My mom had two or three jobs at once. Well, she had three jobs when she didn't have a kid, but she dropped it down to two. And she said that when she was working at two jobs, she's working at a restaurant. She was working at two restaurants, and she was able to pay rent. You know what I mean? With two restaurant jobs. If you try to have two restaurant jobs and pay for rent now, you're ruining your life. If they don't pay enough and they don't give enough hours. You know what I mean? And I think that's why you see sometimes like certain services, people. I want to give grace to service workers too, because people that are working at, like retail stores and restaurants and stuff like that, and supermarkets and stuff like that. People be like, "Oh, the service is bad," which it can be, but at the same time, they don't pay those people anything. You know what I mean? They don't pay them a lot of money, so um, that type of stuff factors in their attitude and stuff like that. You're not paying workers a decent wage, and they get upset about that, and they bust their butt, and all they get is a pizza party, no pay increase or anything like that. But then on the flip side, you say, well, when you go to you need to go to school and get your education. Well, people that go to school and get an education, they find out that when they go to school and get an education, get a good job, the job prospects are slim to none, and they get out here and they try to get a job after getting a degree, and a lot of people they get laden with student debt loans and stuff like that, and that's a debt that you have to pay off. You can't file bankruptcy on that, and so people are just kind of left on the back foot, and then you get furloughed. You know what I mean? And then you know what I mean, but that's that's just kind of how life is, and you have to figure out how to move forward. Um, I say this as a person who's just kind of like caught between, right? Like I went to school, it worked out for me, right? Like it worked out for Tevin, uh, where I went to school, and then I got out and I got a good job, okay? Um, but that for every person that it worked out for, there's 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 that it didn't work out for, and they're looking for jobs still to this day. People have to put in like 100 resumes, to get maybe one interview and stuff like that. I've heard, but that's why you have to continue learning skills and stuff like that now to be ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? It's almost like some people feel like I know that some people like there's a dude named Jack Morgan and he does YouTube and he's been doing like content creating stuff for 2 decades and stuff like that. And he said he finally got to a point where now he can make money off of it, but it was like he just got to that point really, he said, and it's just like he had to keep working and building that skill, and he did a lot of that stuff for free for a long time, and it can just be rough, and he feels like uh there are people that he picked it up. Now it's like that hustle, which was a side hustle, is a full time hustle. But he felt like people are starting content, creating stuff like that to find like it's a must to have a side hustle, and that is an avenue which you can start. But it takes a while. You know what I mean? It takes a while. And so I would just say like it doesn't have to be YouTube or anything like that. It can be you just building your skills um, over time, and then it blossoms into something. But it it doesn't always have to be about money. Just you getting better. But it's hard for me to say that, right? It's hard for me to say that because in today's world, people feel like if you're not doing something that's not leading to money, then it's of no consequence. And that's the creativity is being sucked out of people because they feel like they have to do stuff for money and they can't have hobbies and stuff like that. But that was it. That was my little rant, I guess. Life on furlough, motivation and uh, mental clarity, how to get it. You know what I mean? You gotta learn, create, and connect. Yeah. So until next time, life on furlough, part 3. Have a good day.